transition into a lovely lunch buffet that we have prepared for you. So Gina will introduce Phil, and then we'll go into lunch.
Thank you. So we had a question about Alaska, and I have the man to answer the question. So Phil Izon is with the Ranked Choice Voting Education Association of Alaska. Phil is the person who has collected the signatures to repeal ranked choice voting in the state of Alaska. I steal a lot of Phil's metaphors. So when I talk about ice cream, I always give Phil credit. Maybe it's because it's cold there, and so that's why ice cream. But it helps when you're explaining to people the very complex system of ranked choice voting. Phil, please come up. Tell us what's happening in Alaska and give us an education. Thank you, everybody. Please welcome Phil Izon, Alaska.
Give me 1 second, I'm gonna get the PowerPoint. Oh, there it is, okay. So first thing I'd like to start off with is I actually wrote the repeal. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a politician, I'm just a business owner. I run a couple different businesses in Alaska. I've done work with like Sarah Palin and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and a bunch of other people. I'm actually a data scientist, and so I actually focus solely on data. And so when I got into this ranked choice thing, I'm going to go as quickly as I can. There's a lot of material. This PowerPoint will be available to everyone here. It's really long and there's lots and lots of content. I also have a 320-page book that's now for sale on our website. And please go and buy that and support us. I actually wrote the book. It covers 2 decades worth of history of ranked choice voting in the United States, but it also talks about Australia, Canada, Ireland, a lot of other places that have used ranked choice voting. So why did I write the repeal in Alaska? Well, I wrote it because my grandfather, right after the election last year, told me he didn't understand how to fill out his ballot. So I decided it was in my best interest and Alaska's best interest to get rid of this ranked choice voting nightmare, I like to call it. When I first started, I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I didn't really have the support network by the people behind me to be like this great, wonderful group of people here. Arizona's been regularly very, very supportive of me individually. That's why I come back. This is my 5th trip to Arizona. Did 4 last year, did Tucson and a bunch of other places, yeah. And I will make sure, I will do everything in my power this year in 2024 that make sure you guys don't get ranked choice voting. So I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna do presentations, I'm gonna be at gun shows, I'm gonna do everything I can to be out in front of people and make sure that they know the truth behind this. So a little thing that happened recently, and I wanna start off this group in Alaska, the pro-ranked choice group, is funded by the 1630 Fund. And that fund is associated with Arabella Advisors, George Soros, and many, many other really, really bad people. So don't let this just go under. There's a couple of issues with Arizona in particular I want to make sure they're highlighted. Arizona, if this goes through a citizens initiative process and they get this on the ballot, the legislature can't repeal it here. They can't get rid of it. In Alaska, so you have a time delay, a 2-year time delay, where after the citizens initiative has been passed, the legislature can go back and repeal it. Well, our legislature is incredibly weak. They're nowhere near the quality that you guys have here in Arizona. They weren't going to step up to the plate and get rid of it, so I wrote the bill to get rid of it. In that process, we ran into a group called I call them the pro-ranked choice group, but they're called Alaskans for Better Elections. That's what they call themselves. And if you go around and look at Fair Vote, who is the main promoter of ranked choice voting nationally, they push ranked choice voting through subsidiary groups, about 100 of them, all across the country. And one of those groups is called Alaskans for Better Elections. And they actually hired a spy, infiltrated our campaign, stole petition books. I filed a police report on them, and then they turn around and filed a complaint against us based upon that information. They lost that complaint. But the point is like, do not underestimate these people. I cannot express to you, I've underestimated them many times, and I regret that, a lot. I would not be here today if I didn't have the support of all these wonderful people like Gina and Jordan, and every time I get to come do an international thing or a national thing talking about ranked choice voting, it gives me that much more credibility. And that's really important to have people listen to what I'm saying, understand that I'm not speaking from a point of that I love our plurality voting system or anything like that. It's that this is really not good, and this will destroy Arizona. You will be California in seconds. as soon as ranked choice voting comes into play. Yeah, it's going to happen overnight. 2 examples in particular, Lisa Murkowski and Mary Peltola. Neither one of them should be in office. And that's just talking about your US Senate and US House representative members. It's not discussing any of the existing legislators on the state level. So think of how our state level in Alaska is going to be if we keep ranked choice voting. We're going to be a blue state in no time. And I can assure you 60% of the state voted for a Republican multiple times in our US House race last year, and we have a Democrat in office. So it just gives you a very clear example. And my new presentation's title is Not All That Glitters is Gold. And that's ranked choice voting. And Alaska is very famous for our gold, so I figured it's appropriate. If we can move on to the next slide.
To talk about elections. There are outside interests that are impacting our elections.
Just make sure it's loud enough. Another nice thing is that so I led the signature drive. I wrote the repeal from my living room, while they're trying to fix the sound. And we spent 2% what the Soros-funded group did in Alaska. So they brought ranked choice. They spent $300,000 to bring out-of-state signature firm to Alaska to do the signature gathering. People from Texas and all over the place, were all over the state of Alaska gathering signatures. We used 100% Alaskan volunteers. We had 700 volunteers. The last time that something like this was done by a volunteer was statehood. Like, this is a historical thing, and I did it. I wrote the repeal and I led the drive for signatures. We only needed 26,000, which seems not like too many, but the reality is, you guys look how big that state is. I've been to every corner of it. I can tell you how big it is. It's enormous, okay? And a lot of places I hadn't even been before until this ranked choice experience. Perfect, thank you. All right. You can go ahead. Does that sound okay now? Maybe not. Either way. While they're working on that, I'll continue. So when we're looking at the ranked choice situation, so the ice cream video is really fun. I have a nice little icebreaker for that if they can get it working. But otherwise, so the claim that ranked choice voting has is that first, they claim that it's better. They claim it's cheaper, they claim it's faster, they claim RCV increases turnout. They say RCV gives an absolute majority. They claim RCV is good for third parties. They claim it's more civil. They claim it reduces or eliminates spoiler candidates. There's absolutely no proof or data to back up any of that. None. I'm a data scientist.
To talk about elections. There are outside interests that are impacting our elections. You've seen the TV ads, radio ads, and mailers telling us all that ranked choice voting is simple. Hearing these ads, I am reminded of a quote by Mark Twain. It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. Mark Twain. We all know that ranked choice is bad for Alaska. Please see these 2 quick animations to show why. Lisa selects multiple candidates. Her choices were eliminated. Lisa's ballot gets exhausted. Ranked choice hurts Alaska. Candidates who lost the first round can still win. Results took weeks to tabulate. We were last in the country for election results. Ranked choice has multiple rounds of voting, which is confusing to many Alaskans.
And Arizonans, and many other people. And so I've done presentations in 12 states in 2023. I've actually traveled to Florida, Missouri, Hawaii, worked with the Republican parties in most of those states, and they're all much better than Alaska. Our Republican Party failed us. Our legislators failed us. I can't express to you how frustrating it is being from a state that's supposedly red and has no support whatsoever. So thank your legislators here. Thank people like Gina and Jordan, because without these people and these wonderful groups, the 8 groups that this woman mentioned, you wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here today. And you guys wouldn't be knowing about this information preemptively. And that's the #1 way to fix this ranked choice thing, is be preemptive, get the message out, communicate it to your friends and family, newsletter, read the book that I wrote, and you'll be 100% knowledgeable about the entire history of ranked choice voting. I even go back and touch a little bit on the 1920s. And so from 1920 forward, there used to be a ranked choice voting system called STV and IRV in the United States. and it's been repealed 85 times. So just because they named it something new doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be successful. But as the good news is that we have been so successful in targeting the term ranked choice voting, and jungle primary in particular, that they are having to change their names. They're not advertising ranked choice voting. In Connecticut, just recently, they changed their name from a group that was funded by Jonathan Soros and Catherine Murdoch, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars each donated to this group called, a Connecticut group called Ranked Choice Voting Commission. They have just recently changed their name to Non-Plurality Voting Commission. It's because we're winning. It's because we're putting in this work that's necessary for us to be where we are today. This is the ice cream video.
What flavors would you like?
Chocolate, blueberry, strawberry, Rocky Road.
Okay, well, based on our new system of selecting ice cream, we tabulated your state's choices into a very simple system that takes weeks longer to tabulate. And even though Alaska has a smaller population than most major cities, Alaska was the last in the country for election results. Based on this new system that it's great with no flaws, is that you all get pistachio.
Mary Peltola, Lisa Murkowski is our pistachio ice cream.
Voting is anything but simple. Did you know in 2022, the first year of using ranked choice voting, Alaska had the lowest voter turnout in history?
I said I was a data scientist. I'm not going to let them get by with having the lowest voter turnout in the entire history of our state, and then go around and tell people that ranked choice voting increases turnout. They legitimately do that. And they go so far. I'm going to show you guys something really, really scary here in a second. And they this is our claim. This is my claim. Ranked choice voting hurts English as second language voters, obviously. Ranked choice voting hurts our blind, hurts our deaf. It hurts our elderly voters, our disabled voters, low information voters, low education voters, low income voters, third parties, third party candidates, third party voters, Republicans, Libertarians, Independents, Conservatives, and moderate Democrats. So pretty much everyone, yeah. The reality is there's actually no proof at all that ranked choice voting has helped any Republican besides Lisa Murkowski get elected. She's the only one ever in the history of ranked choice voting that has won with ranked choice voting. And so it is literally a Democrat winning machine. It does a great job at helping Democrats win. And not only just like the worst type of Democrats. I labeled moderate Democrats in here because the worst type are the type that win. Mary Peltola is a polar opposite of what Alaskans represent. She's against guns, she's against freedom, she wants unions, like all these things these aren't things that Alaska want. And we have to deal with it, and she's sitting there voting for our speaker, you know, and we only have one representative. We don't have 5, we have 1. So we don't have any representation now, at all. And that's a really terrifying thing. So here's the really scary thing. Okay, so this right here is a statement, and if you read it, it's kind of small. It says that this is from a group called Unite America, another pro-ranked choice group, also funded by Murdoch and a lot of other people. If you want to see who funds ranked choice voting, buy my book. It has everything in there. You could also look at influencewatch.org. That's where I got most of my information from. That really great resource. So here, this Unite America is using Alaska's. Remember, my claim is Alaska had the lowest voter turnout in history. Well, they went back in history, literally, and changed the way that Alaska had calculated based upon PFD. And so PFD is a oil revenue that they give to the people in Alaska. So they went back and removed voters from the rolls. Starting like 2011, they went back and removed voters from the rolls and then gave that number 48%. You know what the real number is? 44%. Which is that's state documents right there. There's not a single state document in anywhere on the state of Alaska's website that says our voter turnout was 48%. Because it wasn't. It was 44.38%, which is the lowest in the history of our state. Why do you think that they're trying to uncover or try to manufacture 4 extra percent? It's because their claim is that the ranked choice voting increases turnout. So they're literally willing to lie just even on something like this. And I have to go find the truth and share it with people so that way they know that this isn't true. Like, they're lying. They're liars. I've debated the ranked choice group in Alaska, beat them handedly. I've called the attorney, George Soros-funded attorney, a liar in front of the entire election commission, and yelled at it, yelled at him, and told everybody he's a liar, and it's true, I have proof that he's lying, and I got kicked out of the commission office because of it. Yeah. So, like I said, there's no way I can cover all my material today. So the PowerPoint's here, and I'm just going to kind of skip through some things. Real quick, can I get just a hand of how many people know what exhaustive ballots are? Okay, no one. Okay, so exhaustive, it happens every time. It's a new thing that I've been doing. It's just one of the first questions I ask. So exhaustive ballots is really just a pretty basic idea. I don't know how it became a thing or who came up with it. It's really, the idea is basic, but the concept is kind of scary. So in Alaska's election, we had Mary Peltola and Lisa Murkowski. And so those are the two elections, the ones that are most known. So I like to talk about that. And I worked on Palin's campaign that year too, a little bit. I like Palin a lot. She's a really nice lady, and I would love to bring her here to Arizona. Really great. She's very supportive, and has been since the very beginning of us getting rid of this ranked choice voting system. But in that election, you go through this tally. So the first thing you do is you do a open primary, jungle primary, and that's what they call it, open, and that's the key. Make sure you guys don't use open, don't use that term, use jungle, and express to people that use open primary that there is a difference between, you guys already have an open primary in Arizona, which means that the independent, was what's described earlier, can come up and vote in any primary they want. A jungle primary is essentially they're all running, and this gets really hairy really quickly because anyone can put an R next to their name. Anyone. And you will see, if you go into I'm on Twitter, X, that's my main thing that I use, you'll see the comments from people in Alaska on there. And they'll state this exact thing, that people will run as an R, get elected, and then not have any representation at all, not show like they actually have any, and not actually vote the way they should vote. And so if that's the future of our country, then why are we even doing this? Why are we a part of this? Why do we care? Because like you said, the Uni Party will take over and they'll just run it the way they want. And we just stop voting. And I can assure you, based upon the data in Alaska, with the lowest voter turnout in history, if you get ranked choice voting, less and less people are going to want to be involved. I personally have met a disabled girl who was 19 years old while traveling. I've met thousands of people, literally thousands, and one of them was a disabled girl, 19 years old, said she cried in the voting booth because the ballot was too complex. My grandfather earlier, veteran, and he actually used to run a multi-million-dollar construction company, also struggled with the ballot. I met a veteran coming back from Fairbanks that said he'll never vote again. A Vietnam vet said he'll never vote again because of ranked choice voting. So if that's the future of elections, then we can go that route. But I don't think that's what people in this room want. I sure don't want that. So in America, ranked choice voting kind of became a new term in California. And so this is in California. So it talks about why they decided to get ranked choice voting. And in this one, this is their claims. And so again, there's no proof to any of these things. The third party one is really, there's no proof at all, independents or libertarians. And so those are the guys that you're going to have in Arizona, that's going to be the target audience. They're not going to come to the Republicans and tell you guys, that ranked choice voting is the greatest thing. They're going to go to the independents. They're going to go to the libertarians. They're going to go to the nonpartisan people, and they're going to pitch it to them. Hey, you guys can actually win an election for the first time ever. Except the data does not prove that. There's no data anywhere that says independents, libertarians, nonpartisan candidates win with ranked choice voting. So make sure to squash that immediately and cover that immensely. And I will be running ads all over Arizona, have been all year this year, all year last year, and I will continue because, yes, thank you, because it's very important. So the next thing is, this is Boulder. So this just happened, and you're gonna get a little taste of some of the videos. I have 30 videos, 300-page book, all on ranked choice voting, and I'm the one that wrote the scripts and did a lot of the video work, and then also wrote the book. And so this is Boulder. This is this year. Okay, so the important thing to pay attention to is a conservative was most likely going to win this election.
In the recent Boulder City election, Bob Yates, a former Republican who became unaffiliated in May 2022, initially led in the mayoral race. However, the introduction of ranked choice voting shifted the results. Incumbent Mayor Aaron Brockett, a liberal Democrat, overtook Yates with a lead of 497 votes and is expected to win. This shift is attributed to the second choice votes from Nicole Spear's supporters, who finished third. Spear was endorsed by the local Democratic Socialists of America chapter. This election demonstrated the significant impact of ranked choice voting, which pushed Boulder's municipal politics further to the left. Yates, known for his limits on development and growth, had previously won more votes in the 2015 and 2019 council elections than Brockett. Brockett acknowledged that ranked choice voting was a key factor in his likely victory, differentiating it from a plurality winner system. John Frank, Axios News, November 9th, 2023. See our website for more.
Another thing too is everything I do, all the videos I do, I have 100 sources in my book. 100, not 10, not one, but 100. There's not a single ranked choice voting book in the United States that I know of that's more comprehensive than my book. It is a manual, field manual. It's designed to be that way, and I will be adding to it every single year. So it is an ongoing thing, and anybody that buys the book, I'll send you a new copy every year, electronically, with the updated information. So every time that there's an election with ranked choice voting, I do something like that, where that was Boulder this year. And so Boulder hadn't used ranked choice voting until then. In the very first election, that is the result. So that's what we're gonna have here in Arizona if this happens here. And so I'm gonna skip a couple slides here, but I'll tell you a little bit about what they are. So that this is a low voter turnout video. We got, the next one is voter suppression. The third party ones are
Alaska had
good.
the
Ranked choice voting claims that it is good for third-party candidates. In the 2020 U.S. Senate election that Dan Sullivan won, there were 5 third-party candidates. In the 2022 U.S. Senate election, using the top 4 ranked choice voting system, there were 0 third-party candidates. Obviously, ranked choice voting is not good for third-party candidates.
Pretty straightforward. I don't know how people miss these data pieces. It's literally right in my face as I'm looking and doing research. And a little bit over a year now. And going back a little bit, because I don't have unlimited time, we needed 26,000 signatures statewide, the largest state in the country, and I got 40,000 signatures. I didn't expect to get that. That was, again, all volunteers, and all I did was ask people to help me. That was it. I didn't have this Republican Party support. I did not have people like Gina. I did not have people like Jordan. I did not have very many people to help me. It was, the statewide Republican Party failed miserably. Didn't help me at all. The local Republican parties were very, very helpful throughout the whole process. And a lot of actual third parties were very helpful, independents and other people. So it wasn't just a Republican-led organization.
Alaska election issue.
And this one's really important, and if you guys get a chance. So the Supreme Court of Alaska, I'm just gonna summarize this, had determined this year, in 2023, that, so almost 6 months, 7 months later, that the Division of Elections had violated state law by removing Al Gross from the ballot in the U.S. House race with ranked choice voting. And so what happened in that circumstance was that Al Gross had dropped out of the race to give Mary Peltola a better chance. Al Gross was in 3rd place, okay? So this again shows you the manipulation potential of ranked choice voting. So the division violated state law, removed his name from the ballot. That gave Mary Peltola a pretty much guarantee win, because she was the only Democrat left on the ballot with 2 Republicans. 2 Republicans split the vote, Mary go on the win. Mary was in 4th technically, originally in the initial primary. That means she would have been eliminated. And that means Al Gross most likely would have been eliminated. And that means either Sarah Palin or Nick Begich would be our House of Representative member today. So even with ranked choice voting, the intricacies of the system, the division can fail to do their job correctly and ultimately violate state law, and our Supreme Court is pretty liberal, ultimately made the determination that they violated state law by removing his name because he dropped out after the deadline. So his name should have remained on the ballot. That's really, really not good. So in this, you got, so this one right here, this is a summary of ranked choice voting unveiling potential gaming. And so one of the things that I'm very worried about with ranked choice is election errors. So just a minute ago I talked about Supreme Court determining the division of elections in Alaska violating state law. In that same election year, Oakland had a massive issue with a school board candidate. And in that, the school board candidate was said they won, and then ultimately was determined that a third-party group called Fair Vote, who promotes ranked choice voting nationally and pushes it nationally, intervened in that election in Oakland, told the Division of Elections in Oakland that they ran their tabulation incorrectly, and that the person that they declared won didn't actually win, and that this person that Fair Vote actually supported did win. So you have some like completely third-party, Soros-backed group that intervened in a city election, ranked choice voting, and ultimately changed the outcome of the election. That took about 6 months and a court hearing to determine. So like the two massive issues, both election offices were ones responsible for them. One in Oakland, who's been using ranked choice for a really long time, and one in Alaska, which just started using it. Last little thing I just want to cover is this gaming. And then I will call it, but you guys will have access. I'll make sure that they have the PowerPoint and you guys can get it out to everybody. There's a lot of content in here. Oakland, California, San Francisco, etc. Tons of videos and lots of really easy to watch. I highly suggest using my videos because it's very, very complicated. Trust me, I'm an expert in that, at least being able to express what ranked choice voting is. It's much easier to give these people the videos to go watch and allow them to like get that information themselves versus trying to explain ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is very complex. It's designed that way. It's very hard to communicate and express the detail of all the things that are wrong with it. And so in this circumstance, earlier we talked about third parties 2022 to 2020 Senate elections. This is the same thing. In 2020, in the U.S. Senate election with Dan Sullivan, you had 40% of the state vote for Al Gross for the Democrat. So Sullivan won in 2020 against Al Gross, but 40% of the state voted for a Democrat. Okay, it's important. In 2022, in the U.S. Senate election with Murkowski, only 10% of the people in Alaska voted for a Democrat. So we had a 30% shift from 2020 to 2022, both U.S. Senate elections, and it's only 2 years difference. 30% of Democrat voters decided to vote for Murkowski in their first not the second round, but the first round. So 30% of Democrats shifted their votes from voting for a Democrat in the 2020 election to voting for Lisa Murkowski in the 2022 election, primarily because she was on the ballot and they knew that the Democrat had no chance to win. So how do they block a Trump-favored candidate from winning? They vote for Murkowski and give her the extra votes she needs to win. And that's why we are in the situation we're in today. So this is like the game, that the system can be gamed. All their claims are lies. And it's just not really, it's just overall not good. It's not good for Alaska. We hate the results. And that's why I worked so hard to get where we are today. And I assure you I'm going to continue pushing here in Arizona this whole year. And if you guys get my videos, I will customize the ends of them to your organizations. And you can go and share them and use them how you want. I've already done this. I've given around $90,000 worth of videos away already. Across the country, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, Tucson has my videos, and I'd be happy to do that for any group here in Arizona as well. And so that'd be your content, you can share it how you want. My label and name isn't anywhere near it, but it's the same content, same message. And with that, I'll end. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Do you have time for 1 or 2 questions, Bill? So, the first I want to do, to the best of your ability, can you give a quick 1 or 2 minute overview and explain to these folks what happens in the process of multiple rounds of tabulation with ranked choice voting? Because I think a lot of folks here are unclear as to how ranked choice voting works in general elections.
So this is directly from the Division of Elections in Alaska. So every state, every system is different. And that's one of the big issues I have with it, is going from one state to another, city to the next. You move from here to there and your elections are different. You don't understand how they all work. And that's the thing with ranked choice voting. Each individual place, they do it differently. But in Alaska, in most ranked choice voting circumstances I've seen, is you have your jungle primary. And so that's like where you have 50 people running, or however many people that want to run, and any one of them can label themselves whatever they want. So they can say I'm an R, or I'm a D, or I'm an I, or whatever, and it gives you the result. And there's no way to audit that. You would have to have a team of people individually counting out ballots, and Virginia did this. And so they did this for their Republican primary during COVID. They did ranked choice voting for their primary, and they hand counted the ballots, and they said it was the worst experience imaginable. And so with this, they use a software, and it's a computer. So remember, first round can't audit it after the first round. And so second, third rounds of this election, so then you have your, let's say in Alaska, there's 4, okay? So then knock off 1, and then that person's votes, the second, third, fourth votes, get distributed to these other 3 candidates. And then because there's not over 50%, you knock off another person. And then that ultimately leaves 2 people, and then one of them ultimately went. That's called a manufactured majority. Just want to make sure people know that. That's what the term I use for it. It's because you've exhausted ballots, removed it from the total, reran the numbers to get you above 50%. So they're actually taking, in Alaska's case, they took 6% away out of one election. They took almost 7% away at another election to get to the 50%. So they're literally taking ballots that don't have a leftover candidate and throwing those ballots out as if you never voted at all. That's true.
So folks, just to clarify this and to reiterate what Phil has already said, if after the first round, if no candidate reaches 50+1%, you go through multiple rounds of tabulation. The votes are then redistributed, the candidates are re-ranked until one candidate gets 51+1%. So some talking points, I understand and I recognize that we have many grassroots activist leaders in the room. Some talking points to take back to your respective groups, clubs, organizations, etc. What this does is it scam manufactures a majority vote. It's a confusing, chaotic, disenfranchising system where the person with the most votes doesn't always win. And it throws one person, one vote, counted one time, totally out the window. I'm going to go into the next question here.
Thanks, Jordan, and thanks, Phil, for being here. My name is R.C. Maxwell. I'm here based in Phoenix. You may recognize me. I was in Alaska.
Well, I met you at CPAC, too.
Okay, very
I met you and James O'Keefe. You were in my hotel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
Yeah, that's
Small
pretty
world.
cool.
So yeah, I was the only other person in this room probably in Alaska fighting ranked choice voting. I interviewed Murkowski.
Yep.
There's a whole undercover investigation. I'm actually doing an investigation on ranked choice voting here in Arizona.
Good.
I'd love to talk with you
Oh,
and any others about that.
Yeah.
That's not where I'm going with this question though. My question is about the left side. I don't think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a congresswoman with ranked choice voting in New York. I don't think Ilhan Omar is a congresswoman with ranked choice voting in Minnesota. Because there were more moderate candidates, I'm sure, would have carried Republican votes and a slither of Democrat votes. So we might not have those progressive fighters in a world of ranked choice voting. I say that to say this. I'm not sure being in rooms like this is the key to beating ranked choice voting. I think we have to, on the left side, convince them of the reality of the situation. And that my little anecdote, I think, kind of speaks to that. So what do you think about convincing progressives that ranked choice voting isn't the best for them because their guy, their woman, doesn't win because it screws up democracy? What do you think about that?
Well, I would say that you make a couple points. One in particular is that your Murkowski point, and if you guys get a chance, please go watch his video about Project Veritas video he did This gentleman is incredible. He's literally one of the main reasons why I learned as much about ranked choice voting as I did, is James O'Keefe and this gentleman. And that's why I was so thankful, and I remember specifically thanking him for his video about Murkowski. He calls him right, straight out. You know, that guy I called a liar, that attorney I called a liar, was Lisa Murkowski's attorney. And he was the guy that wrote ranked choice voting. And so I'm the one that wrote the repeal. And so it's really important for you guys to know the connection between Murkowski and ranked choice voting in Alaska, and then you could tie that in with the people that here in Arizona. But when it comes to liberals, progressives, people like that, ranked choice voting isn't being pitched in those places most of the time. That's one of the things I've noticed. It's mostly pitched in red states, places that they have a hard time winning in. DC Democrats have come out and sued to block ranked choice voting this year, actually 2023. They sued to block ranked choice voting in DC. Gavin Newsom came out against ranked choice voting. Yes, there's a video. If you go through my presentation, these videos are there. Gavin Newsom's, Jerry Brown's comments, even McCarthy's comments, DC Democrats' comments in the statement. So I'd say my focus point on progressives is showing those DC Democrat statements. You know, funny thing is I actually had this on here, is my story about my sister. My sister is a liberal. I don't talk to her very much. But we got looped into a Christmas text, and this answers your question a lot, but unfortunately, not the way I would want it to. I get into this conversation about ranked choice voting. I'm sitting there being proud. I didn't know my sister was in the group text. I said, hey, we're almost done. I'm submitting the signatures next week, and we're all set and done. And I thought I was texting my mom, my brother, and a friend of mine. And it ended up my sister was there. And she goes, I love ranked choice voting. I voted for it in Alaska. It's all about keeping dark money out of Alaska, and that's it. And I'm like, so I'm like, I sent her the DC Democrat statement, I sent her Gavin Newsom statement, I have a statement from Native Americans for Sovereignty as well, so, and I sent all these to her, and she blocked my number. So if that answers your question, I don't know if there's really anything I could do to fix that, but the reality is, like, we'll go around and preach to them and educate them this month. I'm not afraid of talking to them, but I have had really negative experiences with trying to even, like, break that. I say the third parties are the bigger target, independents, nonpartisans, people that are mostly leaning conservative but don't label themselves Republicans. Those are the ones that you have to get in front of. Progressives, I don't know if you can fix that.
And Phil, I'm going to just point out one thing. This coalition of grassroots organizations that are both state-based and at the national level have done these grassroots educational seminars all throughout the country, especially in key target states, and there's been a healthy mix and appetite from registered Republicans, independents, and even Democrats that we've had in our audiences.
Yeah, those moderate Democrats are an important target as well, because like they will be taken out in more moderate areas.
The establishment moderate Democrats hate it.
Yeah.
They hate it. Yeah. And there is a coalition of Democrats that have spoken out against it as well. And you'll find that a lot of the state political parties, both Republican and Democrat, have been vehemently opposed to ranked choice voting. So let's go into one more question, and then we're going to go into our lunch buffet here in the corner.
Phil, I just want to address gaming the system, and I want everyone to know that the petition initiative that's on the streets right now calls for nonpartisan elections, but they do allow for the optional party designation next to your name, which is very interesting because in order to put a party designation next to your name, you do not have to be a member of that party.
Thank you. Phil, thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate it.